look at downtown Calgary, the home city for the 1988 Winter Olympic Games on a beautiful afternoon. 1:15 live here in Calgary, 3:15 in New York, 8:15 at night in London. And for those of you watching all across Europe where it's even later at night, thanks so much for joining us for the opening race of the 2013-2014 FIBT World Cup season. We've got women's skeleton, run number one just moments away. A few moments ago, Martins Dukers of Latvia took the first heat lead in the men's competition. This run will be followed by the second heat in both races. The Canada Olympic Park track was finished in time for the 1988 Winter Olympic Games. And seemingly every season over the past 25, it has hosted at least one World Cup skeleton, bobsleigh, or luge race. It remains a popular spot in a terrific city in a great location. The course does not present a lot of challenges up at the top. The real challenge is to start quickly and not make any mistakes. The track is by far the closest located to downtown in a major city, which means that these athletes and officials can fly in and be here in about 20 minutes. Out of curve 8, there is a straightaway into the Kreisel. Now after that exit of the Kreisel, this is the entrance into the Kreisel at this point, 73 miles an hour or so for the fastest sleds. Then the quick exit, need to be clean, need to be fast in the lower labyrinth, where one wrong move can really hurt you. At the last part of this course, you have highest speed into the finish curve and through. Michelle Kelly with the track record at 56.93. That was 7 years ago. Coincidentally, Michelle will join us for the second run today of the men's and women's action to help with the analysis of the race. Hi once again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer. So thrilled to be calling World Cup bobsled in action from North America on a warm day here in Calgary. Not one of those Chinook warm winds from the Pacific, just early winter comfortable temperatures. It is roughly 42 degrees Fahrenheit, and that ice temperature minus 3.1 amounts to about 27 degrees Fahrenheit. Good crowd on hand, especially for a weekday, as we've got a full weekend of racing in skeleton and bobsleigh. The British will lead things off here in the Women's Skeleton World Cup race. In fact, all of those top 10 entering a new season, it will be really tough to tell and pinpoint a favorite in this season. And then as you look at the second seed of the 24 competitors, race number one is always a good time to see one or two new faces show up, someone who has worked hard and improved hard over the off-season. That someone in the men's race was Dom Parsons of Great Britain, who sits in third place. We welcome your emails. Our email address is bobskellytv@gmail.com. Skelly would be S-K-E-L-E. bobskellytv@gmail.com. We've had a lot of viewers writing in, especially from Great Britain. Bottoms writes to us from Latvia. He's watching the action. Thanks so much for joining us as Lizzie Arnold, the 25-year-old from Kent, starts things off for the season of women's skeleton. Arnold with a 5:40 start. Yarnold, rather. She was in fourth place last year in the World Cup standings with a podium finish in Park City, a second place, her best result. Had a victory 2 years ago on the World Cup tour. And was the junior world champion in 2012. Bronze medalist last year at the World Championships. So a quick early start to a career for Lizzie Arnold, a program that has produced Olympic medalists at each of the 3 Olympics where women's skeleton has been part of the program. Negotiating the lower with speeds that rival the speeds we saw from the guys. 75.1 for Lizzie Arnold, a finish time of 57.59. That 75.1 would have been among the top 15 or so speeds in the men's competition. So either the sleds are getting, or the track is getting fast, or Lizzie Arnold is really putting down a fast number. Coach Andy Schmidt yelling, urging his charge on And a really good look at the focus of the eyes of Skeleton. Make a good little vignette.
Hello, Mum and Dad. Welcome to the World Cup Series, everyone.
Enjoying it all with a great attitude as well. Well, here's a two-time world champion, Marianne Thies from Eisenach, Germany. The 29-year-old, formerly Marion Trott, captured world titles in 2009 in Lake Placid and 2011 in Königssee, her home track. And in winning that 2009 title, she made a joke of it. She just absolutely destroyed the rest of the field. And in the most inexplicable of performances in this sport, Marianne Thies will do this despite having not just a slow start, but one of the slowest starts of all of the 24 competitors. Just remarkable what she can do with her body and her equipment after the relatively slow start time. So watch this 3600s deficiency and see what happens. Now, Lizzie Arnold, certainly she is one of those medal contenders. But here is your indication, 60, almost double the deficiency now. Will Marianne Thies turn it around here? Often she does. Now 67s. The next number will probably be down. That's if she follows her usual trend. Good exit of 8, enters the Kreisel. No, losing a little more time, 7900s. Not a lot of real estate here in Calgary. This is not San Moritz. This is not Lake Placid, rather. So she falls even further back. A disappointing first heat here from Marianne Thies. And we don't know yet whether this was her problem or Lizzie Arnold's great run. Only the next few sleds will tell us. I will tell you that I spoke with Marianne a couple of days ago. She said she's been working so hard on her start. She knows it's not going to be one of the fastest, but her goal is if she can pick up 100th or 200th at the start, that could make a huge difference. One of the great drivers, unquestionably, in this circuit. And that was a nice entrance into the Kreisel, the exit out of 8, but she lost it all with that 3600th deficiency at the top. 29-year-old Cassie Horish is the first of the Canadian competitors here. Canada has been, if you want to pinpoint one nation that's been the strongest in women's skeleton since this World Cup circuit began, it is without question Canada. Originally from Brandon, Manitoba, the wheat city, Horish now makes her home here in Calgary, as do so many of the athletes who can train at this very, very impressive wind sport facility, the Ice House down at the bottom of the track. 5:56 start time. That put her 1600ths behind Yarnold. She's lost a little more on the way down. Horish has made bigger strides than anyone in the World Cup over the last couple of years, except for maybe Lizzie Yarnold. I was speaking to Ryan Davenport, Canadian world champion, about Cassie the other day. And he said she has really emerged from just a junior competitor to world class in about 18 months. 6300ths back at that split. Through 13, skidding across the finish. Really rocky bottom there. She is in second place, about 0.2 of a second ahead of Marianne Thies. Could have been a lot better. That bottom part was filled with skids on that finish curve. You could hear that. How good was Lizzie Arnold? I mean, we still have plenty of athletes to see and find out how good the British run was. But at least in the early indication, no one, she's put up Dukers type numbers. Rough go around the finish. And competition continues here. Run number 1, the 4th out of 24 sleds. Janine Flock, the Austrian, 12th place last year in the World Cup. Her best result was a 4th. I mean, that was her best result. It was an incredible performance for her on her home track in Eagles. And this is not an exact replica of the Eagles, but it really, if you had to put the closest track to Eagles in the World Cup, some might tell you Calgary. Start time of 5:48 was just 800ths off Lizzie Arnold. Could this be the breakout year for Janine Flach of Austria? The Austrian women have never been among the elite in World Cup skeleton, while the men, going back a couple of decades, were in fact a force in this sport. Going back as recently as the 2002 Olympics, where Austria captured silver in men's skeleton. A little bit of steering there out of 8. That'll slow her down, but it will make for a clean Kreisel. Only a quarter of a second back, so it's not bad here. One hit, not a big redirect. The speed will be key, 71.3. That's a lot slower than Lizzie Arnold here. It'll be a second place run for what it's worth, which is a little bit in the early going. But she loses a lot of speed down at the bottom. 4,600th back. Martin Rennell, of whom I just spoke about. He was the silver medalist at those 2002 Olympic Games. She had a 4th place finish last year on her track in Eagles. So we'll see if she can hold on to some top 5, top 6 spots. We still have a whole slew of world champions to come here. Best speed after the Kreisel. Check that out. She stayed close at the start. She didn't make a lot of mistakes. That's the key right now to her early 2nd place standing. So we're in the early going here, but we have, as I said, several world champions to go. In fact, we have Shelley Rudman up next. A little later on, Noelle pikus-pace, Katie Eulander, Anya Huber, all world champions, all in the field today. First up, Shelley Rudman, the Olympic silver medalist from 2006. Rudman, now 32 years old, from Sheffield. She will not have as fast a start as the Arnold, but will it be competitive? It is. 5.58. Big win for Rudman last year at the World Championships to go along with an Olympic silver medal. She has not committed to this being her final season when I spoke to her, while Kristen Bromley says definitely. Shelley says she will take it Olympics by Olympics. Originally from Wiltshire, mother of 1, cuts that lead, holds even at 16. Next split time could be a 1/10 of a second back, no 1800ths back. This will likely be top 2, but probably not enough track yet left to catch her teammate. Rudman now down at the bottom portions of this track, 57.59, 59. The time to beat, she'll be about 2/10 of a second back. 4,300s, losing all sorts of time down at the bottom. 4,300s back. Now we're starting to get a bit of an indication of the Lizzie Arnold run to open things up. We thought it would be fast, but we were going to hold out judgment until some of the other elite athletes went. I love that mask. Big mouth from Shelley Rudman. The world champion had some skids down here at the bottom, and that cost her maybe a 1/10 or 2 of that 4,300s deficiency. So moving back into 2nd place is Shelley Rudman, as she had the 3rd best speed there at the finish.
Track is cleared for
now Australia's Michelle Steele up next. Michelle Steele began on the World Cup at the age of 18. Watch this, the 2-handed start, the only one remaining in men's and women's skeleton, at least on a regular basis, among the top sliders that starts with 2 hands. And really no one else has done this for years. It's the Mark Mosley straight-on kicker of Australian athletes. But look at that start time, 5.34. Maybe a reverse revolution. Maybe some others should return to the 2-handed start, because Michelle Steele just put in the fastest start time with that 2-handed start. She's not a huge athlete. She doesn't carry that gravity weight on the way down, so she'll need to be perfect. At the age of 20, Michelle Steele won a World Cup medal, a bronze medal, in Nagano. That was against a scaled-down field, but she's having a great run here. Could this be the big year for the Australian? 1,900s back. She will lose some of that due to the lack of speed, 69.5. In fact, she will fall behind Arnold, but it really was a great top half. Second place, 2,300th back. Eric Bernardis took over the coaching reins of Australia from Terry Holland, a fellow American who really got this program on the map about 7 years ago. Michelle Steele currently in second place with a time of 57.82. Really great at the start. How about that? The two-handed push. The Revolution, Duff Gibson in the back there is actually one of the first to use the one-handed along with Jeff Payne, and they did that because they thought that'd be faster. It certainly is, but Michelle Steele has found something she likes in sticking around with that two-handed start. Noelle Pikus-Pace, 2007 world champion and 2005 World Cup overall champion, has a herniated disc. In fact, it's an old injury, but it flared up again this past week during training. So it'll be very interesting to see how this racer, who had such a great season last year, opens up the Olympic campaign. Start time, slow, 5.59 for Noelle Pikus-Pace, whose strength is certainly gliding down the track. That's what led her to that victory in San Moritz, rather easy victory at the 2007 World Championships. Noelle's best results have not been, unfortunately for her, in the Olympic years, 2006 and 2010. You might say those have been her weakest seasons throughout her career. She's spent a lot of time training this year, spent a lot of time soliciting the sponsorship, and she's having a good middle part of this track. She's actually cutting into the lead. May not have enough to catch Yarnell, but she's got good speed working here, 71.9. Noelle Pikus-Pace from Orem, Utah. This will be tight right down to the bottom around the finish, and she is 0.04 of a second back. So Tuffy Latour, USA coaching staff, certainly not surprised to see this. Noelle Pikus-Pace giving up 1900ths at the top, but cutting out 1500ths of that on the way down and putting herself in position for the medals in run number 2. Noelle Pikus-Pace here out of curve 8. Little tap, virtually everyone's doing that. That's not that costly. In fact, some will tell you that'll set up for an easier Kreisel. A couple of fellow Utah world champion medalists there, Zach Lund and Noelle Pikus-Pace. Now, the teammate, Katie Eulander. Keep in mind the Olympics this year are in Sochi. Last year at the final World Cup in Sochi, Russia, Noelle Pikus-Pace won the race. Her teammate, Katie Eulander, finished second. She too is a world champion and a two-time World Cup champion from Breckenridge, Colorado. Coming back from a concussion, her training has been limited heading into the season. Katie Eulander, a 5:53 start. There was a period where she was one of the top 2 or 3 starters in the world. She still keeps it very much close. And Katie has really tightened her form over the past 4 or 5 years. Back when she was winning her couple of World Cup titles, 2006, 2007, people used to always comment on how far apart her feet are, and as you can see, they're still not totally tight together. But she keeps the body a lot more still than she did 5 seasons ago. Straight away now to the Kreisel. Split time, 0.3 of a second back. This could be top 3, maybe top 4. Michelle Steele lost a lot of time down at the bottom, and she has average speed here. Probably won't fall back too many spots. I think we're looking at a 5th, maybe 6th place for Katie Eulander. In fact, you can visibly see her slowing down at the bottom. 7th place. In a sport where sleds go so fast, and sometimes TV doesn't do it justice, you could visibly see that finish curve being a lot slower for Eulander than it was for several of the prior competitors. The daughter of a former Major League Baseball player, the late Ted Eulander, a member of the World Series champion Cincinnati Reds. Katie Eulander known for that American Eagle on the tip of her helmet. And if you were listening, you could see she thought her problems were up at curve 7, and that's where perhaps she lost her speed. Sarah Reed from Canada, focusing on the task at hand. Maybe more trips down this track than anyone in this field, so we'll see how much experience will favor her. 26 years old from Calgary, fell in love with the sport back 10 years ago and went to the Bobsleigh Canada Skeleton Talent ID Camp. got involved. Great start time of 5.37 for the Canadian, who won the World Cup opening race last season. That was in Lake Placid. Also had podium finishes in Whistler and La Plagne, France. Reed did not take part in the World Cup finale last year in Sochi. Most of the world's athletes had a chance to train just a few weeks ago, the Olympic training week. Sarah Reed just 200s back in the last split. Where will she be here at the Kreisel? 1400s back. She'll keep it tight. This could be a top 3 if she can maintain it. Right now it's Canada, USA, Australia, and Great Britain, the top 4. Hoping for a top 5 now, the Canadian. To the finish. 6th place for Duff Gibson's competitor, Sarah Reed. A breakthrough season last year. Probably is looking to win a medal on her home track to open this year, the only race in Canada, but not a great start. This is the Kreisel. It's not a 360 degree, well, actually it's pretty close to the 360, and several tracks in the world have the Kreisel. You will find one in Königssee, one in Eagles, Austria, and one in Altenburg. And every track in the world has its signature. 2008 world champion Anja Huber. 30 years old now, from Berchtesgaden in the Bavarian region. Began in the sport in 2003, and in just her first World Cup race ever on her home track in Königssee, she won a World Cup silver medal. Absolutely dominated the World Championships in 2008 in Altenburg. Anja has decent start times, usually among the best, and a 5:46 here is the 4th best. I'm still a bit in shock that Michelle Steele has the fastest start time. That's incredible. So Anja Huber getting ready for the Olympics, hoping to do as well, if not better, than her silver medal in Vancouver. Also getting ready for an even bigger event after the season. She will be getting married next summer in Germany. Her husband is a coach for the German, her fiance, for the German snowboard team. Into the Kreisel now, 1100s back. This could contend. This could contend for the top 3 if she keeps it together. Anja Huber bouncing a little bit, of speed of 70.4. 0.2 of a second back. This will be 3rd or 4th place for the veteran German, the class of the German field. And she is in 4th place. 4100s back, but a fairly wide 0.2 of a second out of the medals at this point. So Anja Huber currently in 4th place in the standings, with the top seed, the top 10, now having made their way down the track. Really one of the classic pure forms in the sport. Really a good consistent, one of the most consistent athletes. With Shelley Rudman, she doesn't have the best start, she has one of the best. She doesn't have the best drive, she has one of the best. And that's what keeps Anja Huber in contention. So, 1 seed down. It's very tight between Great Britain and the United States. Still 14 to come. Some of them could qualify for the medals. Bit of a break from our coverage of the race. Thanks so much for our emails. Alexandra writes to us from North Yorkshire, enjoying the coverage. She's a member of the British Skeleton and Bobsleigh Associations, has been since the 1990s. Wanted to say hi to our colleague Martin, and Martin's also watching, wrote to us. And glad to have all of you watching. Vadams Kirlovs from Latvia watching live today the coverage from Calgary. It's got to be about 10 at night, 11 at night now in Latvia. And he is crossing his fingers, he says, for Dukers. Well, Vadams, I'm not sure Dukers is going to need anyone's help, because he just does such a tremendous job himself. Men's skeleton second run coming up right after the opening heat here of women. Send your emails, your questions and comments to bobskeleTV@gmail.com. BOBSKELETV. Gmail. We cannot read them during the second run, but throughout the season, first heat action, when we have the opportunity to get interactive here on the internet and on our streaming app. We're thrilled to share the bobsled and skeleton experience with our viewers. Tim Singer back here at Canada Olympic Park in Calgary, the opening race of the Viessmann FIBT World Cup. We've got two-man bobsleigh coming up later on today. This is the women's skeleton. Michelle Kelly to join me for run number 2. But next up here from Australia, Lucy Chafer. One Australian already in the top 3, Michelle Steele. Lizzie Yarnold of Great Britain leading the way. Let's see how the Australian time compares. Not bad, 11 hundredths back. Things are very tight among the top 2, just 400 separating them, but there is a lot of shifting in places 3rd through 5th. So that will be the goal. Straight away now to the prize. Lucy Chafer, coached by American Eric Bernardis. Such a tough task for those down under to spend their summer competing a half a world away and trying to get the training in, however, whenever they can during the off-season. To the finish curve. The teacher from Australia, 8th best time of 58.32. Ahead of American Katie Eulander, a former world champion. Ahead of Marion Thies, a 2-time world champion. As I look at these standings, the German Thies is in 11th place out of 11. So that gives you an indication, if nothing else does, on how a slow start will hurt you on the track here in Calgary. But a quick start here for the Australian.
Lucy, scale, please.
And what you heard the official telling Lucy to get on the scale, for those of you new to the sport, sleds and athletes in all of the disciplines are weighed following each run. They must adhere to the specific minimum and maximum weight standards in this gravity sport. That is the way to ensure fairness. Elena Nikitina from Russia.
I got to get all the way down.
Great start time. A start record for the Russian, 5.22. So as of 1:44 local time on the 29th of November, both the start times for women and men set today by Russian athletes. She holds on to that lead here in the early going. Nikitina of Russia, 0.3 of a second up. This is going to be exciting to watch. Is this the emerging athlete of this Olympic season? Straight away to the Kreisel. She's losing it now, 2,200. Now her goal is to either keep the lead or stay in the top 3. But she doesn't have the speed. She has a bad hit out of Kreisel, 300s. Now can she stay in the top 3? Needs to be within 0.2 of a second of the lead to be in the top 3. Regardless, this will be a memorable run. She is in 3rd place, 200s ahead of Michelle Steele. Could have been better, but clearly sending a message that we have a great new athlete on the hill. Elena Nikitina of Russia. This is a nation that just cranks it out at the start. They have for years. Alexander Trechikov. Now this is where she lost what could have been a possible lead or top 2, but still great speed working, avoiding disaster for the most part. And a Russian in the top 3. Moving along now, Maria Orlova. This is a veteran Russian. 13th last year, as you see in the World Cup standings, with her best finish being a 3rd place. the third place in Eagles, which was a memorable result. One thing that women's skeleton has been aspiring to do in FIBT over the years, another good start there, 5:39, has been to get much more representation from the nations. So the sport just would not be dominated, say, by the United States, Canada, Great Britain, and Germany. And we are seeing that now. Our leaderboard from top to bottom: Great Britain, USA, Russia, Australia, Germany. There's an Austrian, a Canadian. So it's great global representation here. 1/10 of a second back only for Orlova. Could we get 2 Russians in the top 10? We will check out the speed here in a moment in the Kreisel. It is 74.7 miles an hour, not bad. A little bit of a tap now in the labyrinth. 3,500 back. She will not be in the top 3. Hopes to stay in the top 7 at this point. Speed not good, 71.9. Clean exit into the finish curve. 9th place, 6,900 back. From the 4th best getaway. This is the entrance into the Kreisel, her fixed camera, and then a great look at trying to stay in the center of that track as you see a 7th fastest speed. The key is to be somewhere in the center, too low or too high out of Kreisel. Your exit's going to be a disaster. We see most of the athletes tap, but as long as they don't redirect or throw out those sparks, as Orlova will head back up. Top 20 will qualify for run number 2. Most of those we've seen so far are pretty much a sure thing to do it. Here's Donna Creighton. It's been a good first heat so far for Great Britain, who sits 2 sleds in the top 6. Creighton, 28 years old, originally from Portsmouth, now from Yeovil. Her favorite track is in Lake Placid, where the athletes will be headed in 2 weeks. Another very fast starter. Fastest starts at 5:22. Let's see what Donna Creighton can put down here. First 50 meters of 5:39. 1,700ths faster than the fastest start, but faster than the current leader, her teammate Lizzie Arnold, by 100. One thing is for sure, from what we've seen so far, the British sleds set up by the Bromley boys are in great shape. They are really providing some good speed. Straight away to the Kreisel. 4,200's back. Might say a bit of a disappointing top half for Donna Creighton. Just missed out on a spot in 2010 for the Olympics. Really has a purpose this season. To the finish in 14th place, so a highly forgettable opening race for Donna Creighton. 14th out of 14. I look at the remaining field, the 10 that remain, I think it's probably pretty safe that Creighton will hang in the top 20. But still, to be the slowest of those who have gone so far, very disappointing. It's been the best of times and the worst of times so far today for Great Britain. In the men's race, certainly Dom Parsons in the top 3 is a huge delight, but then Ed Smith had the slowest time of all of the men's competitors. For the women, Lizzie Arnold doing really well atop the leaderboard, but Creighton so far sitting in 14th. The third of the 3 Germans, Katharina Heinz. 26-year-old from Siegen. 67 start is hugely disappointing. Only her teammate Marianne Thies, 900 slower, was slower at the start. And again, this point we will bring up a lot. German qualification for the Olympics. They will need 2 top 3 performances or 3 top 6s. That is not a sure thing in skeleton for Germany. It is in bobsleigh. It is in luge. But a sport that, you know, gains success from popularity, I have to question that a little bit. Anya told me for Germany it's medals or nothing. Nothing else matters. Hines now 66 hundredths off the pace. We'll be looking at a top 12 finish, maybe top 10. Katarina Hines crosses the finish with a time of 58.39, 8 hundredths back. Jens Mueller can only smirk a little bit as he sees Germany sitting out of 15. Germany sitting in 12th and 14th place. Anja Huber, the lone bright spot right now, in 5th. This is the exit of 8, as she has a little bit of bouncing, a little bit of a tap, not much of a redirect. So 9 sleds remaining here, and all of those who are going to qualify for the top 7 have now gone. It becomes the race for the top 20, as Lizzie Arnold holds a slight advantage over Noelle pikus-pace. But really some new fresh faces among the top 5 as well, with Nikitina of Russia with that start record, and Michelle Steele right behind her at the start, and right behind her in the standings in 4th. Catherine Eustace from New Zealand, 15th last year in the World Cup standings. Start time of 5:49, the 9th fastest getaway. Really slow and not the place to skid in the top part. So 1700s, as you see, is Eustace's time, and unless her sled is set up with an engine today, Michelle Kelly, she's going to lose a lot more time as the world champion Michelle Kelly rejoins us with the call.
Those errors, and you can definitely tell that the form's a little bit more sloppy than some of the previous sliders we've seen, and that's just going to keep catching up to her all the way down the track.
Eustace around the finish curve now. Her finish time, 58.60, second off the pace, just ahead of Marion Thies, or behind Marion Thies and ahead of Donna Creighton. So Michelle rejoins us for the rest of the first heat. For the second heat, if I were to hit you for one theme, and you're talking, we don't have to get into the specifics of the athletes. You can save the good stuff for when they go. But what's the theme you're feeling up there at the start?
Everybody's in good spirits. Everybody seems pretty happy. You know, most of the comments are just, little errors that, as athletes we're perfectionists, and everybody's talking about those few things that they could have changed, and looking forward to the second chance on the second heat.
Our third Canadian getting set to go now, Robin Thompson.
This is her World Cup debut.
World Cup debut. Ryan Davenport, I was speaking to him before the race. He's excited about her potential. What do you think?
Oh, she's such a fabulous person and such an amazing athlete. Her starts have just skyrocketed this year. She's a solid athlete. This is her home track. She's going to lay down a good one as long as she can take hold of the nerves.
The load and a time of
That's an excellent start. Excellent start for Robin.
You know, one of the things for the nervous athlete in the early going is they tend to get on that sled a little quickly.
She did get on pretty quick, but that's a solid start time for her. She's really worked hard on that in the off season. So far looking pretty good. A little tap there. It's going to hurt a little bit, but she knows this track. She knows where to gain the speed, and I'm looking for a good finish for her.
Tell us about your World Cup debut.
Oh, geez. It seems like so long ago.
1964, was it? Or?
Don't age me. That was about 1995, I believe. My first race was in Germany, good old Koenigsee, but I won it.
Well, that's a good way to start.
Yeah, not a bad way to start.
Yeah.
9th out of the men, I might add. This is a solid run for Robin. She can use this run to get rid of the nerves, get out of the shakes. She's holding her own.
Great speed, 74.1. This could be a top 7. 9th place. Little dicey there at the finish. That's the wins by Duff Gibson, but he's happy with what he sees. Could this be the latest in such a long list and a great tradition of Canadian female skeleton champions?
I think this is one to watch, and I'm going to say it right now. She's one to watch for the future. She's going to do some really amazing things for Canada and for herself, and she's going to have a super bright career.
You would have been going out on an even thinner limb if you said that before the run, but still, I have no reason not to agree.
I've helped Robin out a bit, and she's such a wonderful, wonderful person, and great work ethic, and she's a great slider. It's just getting rid of some of those nerves, and I think that's what she did on this run. I mean, I don't normally see a home track slider do that kind of an exit out of 14. She's almost in a handstand, but she can do nothing but go up from here.
Thanks.
Yoska Lecomte has been plugging around the World Cup now for about 4 or 5 seasons. 17th last year in the World Cup standings, with her best result a 15th place. Very tough track at Altenburg.
You know, that is a tough track, and so that's, you know, shows that she can drive, and she's been around for a while, and I think she's hoping to have a pretty solid run here.
The Dutch always score big points for participation. And I'm not doing that like the most likely to improve. I mean, all of the sports, men's bobsled with the Van Kalkers and Peter Van Dies, in the men's skeleton, Esme and bobsleigh, they're always there. Maybe not top 8, but usually top 15. Ooh, big skid.
That skid and tap there is really going to affect her speed in that straightaway, and it's going to slow her down with your crowds. You can hear her visor on the ice from the pressure. She's taking that hit, but the hit wasn't so bad. She's definitely lost some speed here. She's holding it together, got her form back.
72 miles an hour at the finish. She did clearly lose that speed. That's what made that finish curve so smooth. 59.04, 145 back.
She's not going to be super happy with that, but you know, she had some good lines, some good things to work on for the second heat if she makes it through. Right there, you can see she just hits that wall coming out of 8. She just didn't have enough height in the corner, which then tapped that wall and put her into that skid, and it's tough to recover from that. You've already lost so much speed on this track.
Yoska Lecomte of the Netherlands. There's the Latvian flag. They'll have plenty to cheer about a little later on in the men's competition with another. I'm going to go on a limb now and say Latvia will win that race. But here is the lone Latvian in the female field, Leda Fredzulena. And they've got their own track. No reason why they shouldn't be nurturing both the genders in skeleton.
And it's nice to see a girl come up in the ranks. It's always been sort of about the two brothers, but now we've got a girl, and she's set to make her own mark on the sport.
That track in Segula, I know you've raced there, and I think you may have won there.
That's the one of the tracks I didn't actually win.
You did? Okay.
Thanks for rubbing that in.
Well, I remember covering a race in the snow, and I thought you had won, but anyway. It's kind of a funky track.
It's different. You have to take an elevator to the start. It's a little eye-opening when you first get there, that's for sure. It's very different from anywhere else.
Well, in the true Latvian tradition, a great start time for Preda Luna, a 5.46 best.
That's great. Great to see. The women are just getting faster and faster. The records keep going, and it's so amazing to see. And for the future of the sport, that's what you need to see, that progression, and get the young, fast legs out there.
38.82, that latest split time. We'll be seeing the speed here after Kreisel, 68.8. Now, she'll be losing a lot more time here. So,
especially that hit out of Kreisel, and it's one thing to hit, but you could see, and maybe it's a bit of inexperience, when she took the hit, she actually then bent the arms and lost her form there, and that's also going to hurt your time.
18th place out of 19 so far, so we're getting to that point with 5 sleds remaining. Only the top 20 will qualify for the second run, so some of these will be decidedly on the bubble.
Always the exciting spots right at the end. You don't know who's going through, who's not, and you know, sometimes people forget that they just think about the top few athletes, but it's important, you know, even people fighting those last spots, it means everything to get a second heat for these girls out there today.
The emails keep flying in. We've gotten a lot of emails. Our viewers in Latvia and Great Britain. We've got a Canadian email. We have Caitlin and Andrew. They are looking to qualify in ice dancing at the upcoming Olympics, and they are watching, as they say, our Canadian girls in a very different yet ice sport and cheering on Canada. So thanks for the email, Caitlin and Andrew.
Good luck to them and their endeavor as well.
Hopefully we'll see you in Sochi. So next up from Switzerland, or from Romania rather, Maria Mazulu.
And I was speaking with one of her coaches at the top just a little bit ago, and they said she had a few sled issues last night working on her saddle of the sled. It looks like they're got that all taken care of, so hoping a good run from her for all the work she put in last night.
Decent start, 11th best.
It was a nice transition there.
Not seen a lot of Romanians bouncing around the Skeleton World Cup. There was one in Ivas last year that Raced in 5 events, but no second heats for her.
They've always sort of just been on that fringe. They're really trying to break into the sport a bit, and it's good to see. We need to have, great wide range of representation. She did hit there that tricky straight that's giving a lot of people problems right now today.
Ooh,
very
really?
high on that exit. Oh, that's going to hurt. Not just the body, but the time as well. But she's recovered well. She's got her form back, staying nice and low on the sled.
Slowest speed by a wide margin down here at the bottom, 69.6.
And you need that speed to carry you through that uphill section in corner 14. So she's right on that bubble.
Right on the bubble, but the bubble seems a lot thinner when you're 20th out of 20.
Yeah, and there's 4 more athletes to go, and the next athlete's a very strong starter, and we still have one of the Russian athletes as well. So, you can't always predict what's going to happen, but I think sadly that may be her run for the day. Started right there coming out of 8, where she just didn't have the height, and then she tapped that wall, came down a little bit too early, smoked that left wall, and then unfortunately, you start ping-ponging through that straight, and that's going to kill your speed.
Switzerland's Marina Gilardoni is up next.
I spoke to her at the start, and she's really looking forward to a strong start. She had some nerves, she was telling me, but she's looking to try and break that start record. She was pretty pumped on that.
Former bobsledder, 20th last year in the World Cup. Love to say hi to our good friend Maya Pedersen if you're watching in Switzerland or in Norway or wherever you're living now. Great start time for your former teammate. 5.29. Maya Pedersen, the former Olympic champion and world champion, really did a lot to put her country on the skeleton map.
World champion here right at this track, 2005. I remember it well because I had a medal, but it wasn't the gold one. So you remember those things. She had, amazing driver. Maya was just absolutely amazing to watch, and did so much for our sport.
And Gilardoni still putting it together here. 300s. This could turn red here. Yes, it does.
There we go.
But how close will she keep it? Now, she lost a lot on that one speed from one split to the next.
She's got to hold it together for this bottom and really fight for every 100th that she can get. You can see her bouncing up and down a little bit on the sled. She's got to just relax a little bit more into that sled.
Now we're on the finish curve. You hear that shield hitting the ice. A time of 58.46. That certainly bumps a couple out of the top 20. She will make the second run, but despite that fast start, she lost roughly 8 tenths on the way down. 8 tenths.
She's going to be, a little unhappy about that. I know she did tell me up top that she was feeling a little bit, I think, of the pressure, and I'm not sure she's going to be so happy with that run. Great form. I mean, her legs are just flying up there. It's amazing to watch. She ran super far and just got on that sled so smoothly.
3 remain now, and here's another Russian. What are we going to see from Olga Nikandrova? Because we have seen great starts from the Russian competitors so far, and we have one Russia, Nikotina, out of nowhere into the top 3. We have the other Russian Maria Orlova there in 10th place, and now Olga Nikandrova.
I think we're going to keep seeing the Russian program improve. They're doing great. It used to be a bit more about their men's side, and now the women are starting to come on super strong. And it's nice for the sport. You got to get that diversity in there.
Only raced 3 times last year in the World Cup. Her best result was a 14th place, and she didn't race in the Sochi event, which is kind of interesting. Start time average at best at 5.53.
And it just shows where the sport's gone. That in the past that would have been a fairly high level start, and I mean the sport's just progressed where you got to get under 5. You got to get that 5.50. You have to get under that to really have a shot to. That was not a good entrance today. She's all over. You
the
hear
body language.
skating.
Yeah, you see the form just go down the tubes.
She's all over and hitting the bumps on the track. Legs are out, and you can see she even skidded a little bit there into the corner. Just shows some inexperience. She's all over.
Well, what we can say on her behalf is she'll have some great athletes to learn from and train from over the next couple of years.
And there's lots of time. I mean, she's a younger athlete. She's just trying to get her feet wet and get going, and that's what everybody started at some point in the sport, and she'll have her moment.
24-year-old from Krasnoyarsk, which is a real hotbed for the sliding sports in Russia. That's where former World Cup champion bobsled pilot Evgeny Popov is from.
Yeah, right here you can already see the form. She's starting to skid right at the top of the track. got to keep them legs together if you really want to keep the aerodynamics. And she's already, hitting little bumps here and there. That was, her legs are up higher than her head, and that is never anything you ever want on a sled. But we'll see her again.
Yeah, we will. Veteran Nozumi Kimura is up next. Limited tour time last year. Just one race in Sochi where she finished in 18th. But she's been around forever. She may be one of the oldest athletes on tour. I'll check that in a second. But has surprisingly improved in her starts over her long career.
She has. She, each year she's continually improving that. And look for a good start for her here. She's running quite far, which is a good sign.
And only 28 years old, so I did have her mistaken on the age thing. Sorry about that, Nozomi.
And a good start time. She got under that 550, which I think is really important right now on today's race. So she did do that, 547.
The Calgary track.
We saw that drifting.
There.
People are drifting on that 3 to 4, and that will really affect your time if you hit that entrance there.
Long day of sliding still ahead with the second heats of skeleton and bobsled. Your experience, does this track deteriorate? Does it pick up as the weather gets colder, or do the track workers do a good job of keeping it consistent?
I find here the track workers are really amazing at keeping the track sort of in the same shape. I don't find it really changes a whole lot. I mean, obviously on a day with the weather being a little bit more crazy, it could, but today it's staying consistent, the weather conditions. It's great to see that it really should be a fair race for everybody from top to finish.
Sitting in 20th place is Yoska LeConte, and she has just been bumped. So the Japanese slider Komuro, by 1/100th of a second, puts the Dutch skeleton athlete out of the race.
You love that 100th when it benefits you and you get, you're on top, and when you're the one at the bottom end of that 100th, it's not much, but it's enough to really hurt. Digs deep.
And she says with experience, but the great Michelle Kelly never came close to that 20th place, right?
No, but I've had that 100th where it's taken you out of maybe gold, and that one hurts. That one hurts, but it's going to hurt no matter what.
Our final competitor, also from Japan, this is Takayo Omokai.
And this is a relatively new athlete, I believe.
29-year-old from Nagano. A track where a world championship was won in 2003 by...
I don't know.
Do you like that track with the uphills?
I do like that track.
I ask you because the Sochi track has 3 uphill sections. And
I think, every track is different and has its unique parts to it. But yeah, I loved the Nagano track. It was obviously very good to me, but just a great place to slide.
The spiral at Azuna Koga.
Again, we've got those people. I think they're trying to get that early entrance into 4, but you don't want to sacrifice the skidding to do it and trying to make too many movements on your sled. Again, you can see just with these athletes that are a little bit lower in the start list, the form isn't quite so tight. Legs are out a little bit, dropping toes onto the ice there. Again, she rode with the exit of 8 a little too long, which that pushes her out to the left and then pushes her to the right.
Looking to keep it under 59 seconds here and make her way to the second run. The top 20 will advance. This is the final competitor here in run number 1.
She's dropping speed all the way down.
Close. I think if she's going to be within 144. She should be okay. 134, 20th place.
20th spot.
She bumps her teammate.
Wow. That was tight today. That was really tight.
Right.
20th spot. Boy, people wanted it.
That's right. I mean, if you think we get down to those last 6 or 7 sleds and there's no drama, wrong.
Yeah. And, it's so important to these girls. They want that second run. You need to,
you don't get the World Cup points without the second run. And this year, qualifying is based on World Cup results, sometimes prize money and sponsorship dollars.
But it's the team points as well. I mean, you need those team points. Nations are fighting to get 3 into the Olympics.
She was the first off the hill, and she's first place after the first run of the first race of the season. Great Britain's Lizzie Arnold in a tight competition among the top 7 or 8 here, but she certainly made her statement, and no one that followed could quite catch her. A check at the standings midway through the opening women's skeleton race of this season. Lizzie Arnold leading the way as the crowd gets set for run 2 coming up here in Canada. Noelle pikus-pace in striking distance, and the Russian Nikitina also hunting down the medals. Very tight between the Russian and the Australian for the medals. Lots of international representation. Great to see with many different nations here in this Olympic season vying for the medals. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot really quickly. We only have a couple of seconds here, but what's your prediction?
You know, I think we're definitely going to see people move quite a bit, especially on the women's side in the second heat. But I think Lizzie Arnold, she looks so comfortable. She's got the start. She can drive. I think we're going to see her kind of stay right where she is. I don't think she's planning to go anywhere. That's my prediction is. But, you know, Noelle's right there, and I think she could also pull it out. She's had a tough week with some injuries and can't feel too good on the track right now, but she's going to pull it out, I think, as well.
Stick around. We've got the second heats coming up when we return to Calgary.